told me not to go to the court that morning.
So we definitely, man, happy about you being here, man, and about your recovery. And, I know it's been a long road for sure. I know it's been a long road, bro. So without further ado, Mikal Quarles from Chase Bank. Also, Mikal is also residing in Chicago now because he's relocated from California to Chicago as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also introduce your team members if you want to. So
absolutely.
Okay, cool.
No doubt about it. But first, Rodney, I first got to just tell you thank you, right? And for those of you that know Rodney, you know that he's an infectious spirit that people just want to be near and understand the desires of his heart and of his mind and of his spirit to bring people together and to make a real difference for Black folks, specifically in the business space. And, me hanging out with him was a no-brainer because it was just another opportunity for me to spend time engaging with him, and playing basketball was just a part of that. But, anytime he asked me or tell me where I need to be, I'm going to be there because I know it's an important opportunity for us to discuss whatever the topic is. And I'm happy to share with you guys a little bit about on the access to capital piece. Now, I smile because I got a couple of family members here, right?
Okay.
And so Robert Hines, who you see here, Robert is like on the road somewhere. I know he is because that brother is the hardest working man I know. And Robert runs our consulting business for the South. And so the South includes all of Texas, Louisiana, and Florida. And then we got Lynette, who's one of our community managers that's in Orlando, showing up for us. And I appreciate the time that they spend with us. And as I explain to you guys what we do at Chase, I will go into greater detail about their individual roles and responsibilities and what that means. I'm going to take a step back, though, before I do that. The step back that I want to take is to make sure it's clearly understood that as a financial institution, we have not been the place where folks would say a Black business owner would go to get access to capital. And I'm not even going to go any further in this conversation unless we all agree and understand that that is true. I've been with the organization for almost 20 years. And I can say, if you talk to me, that answer would be different. But obviously I'm one person, and Lynette and Robert and others would say, if you talk to them, that's not been my story, right? But as an organization, that is 100% an accurate statement. And what I want to say about that is, I believe because of the timing in which we're in, the assumption is as a result of the murder of George Floyd and all the social unrest that came from that, Chase, like everybody else, is trying to sign up to do something different in the community. That's not wrong. It is inaccurate, right? So the truth of the matter is the evolution of what we're doing started well before that. It was amplified, it was mobilized, it was celebrated as a result of some of the other things from a racial inequity perspective. But like the job that I have and the work that I did started before all of that. It started before the pandemic. Like I started down this path at the end of 2019 going into 2020, right? So this is before any of that stuff had happened. And I'm not going to give you a long story about it, but the short of the story is we had a lot of hard conversations to experience. And when I say experience, the reason I say that is we decided to sit down with business owners and hear them tell us of their horrible experiences with us. And for a person that's been here for 20 years who has a ton of pride over working at this organization and doing all the things that I've done, those stories hurt. And it was hard for us to like really sit back and just take it without trying to explain it, justify it, explain it away. So where we're at today is we've acknowledged it and we've done a ton of work to fix it, but we're nowhere near where we need to be. And so there's two things I'm gonna ask you guys as we have the conversation today, right? One, I ask that you trust that I mean what I just said. I sit at the table with our CEO in making these decisions happen. And so, and I have his full support. I talk to him probably every day, if not every other day, right? And so the work that we're trying to accomplish is very much focused. And if there are experiences that you want to share, if there's doubt that you have, if there's personal challenges you want to address, I'm happy to have those discussions here in this forum, or separately if you want to have a conversation with me or anybody else on my team. Is that fair?
No, that's fair. That's very fair. Absolutely.
All right, awesome. So let me tell you guys what we do. So I run a team of, and I have kind of, call it two different responsibilities, but maybe it's even broader than that. Like, I run all of our strategies for diverse-led companies. I define diverse today as Black, Hispanic, Latino, veteran. When we've looked at the statistics, those are the demographics that are the most underserved of diverse-led businesses. And so while we support business, we are very much focused on the efforts around those four demographics. What we've done so far is build a special purpose credit product. What that means is we did the analysis to understand that in Black, Hispanic, Latino communities, the approval rate that we had in those communities was significantly less than what it was in majority communities. And so as a part of us changing the way that we did lending, we did what we needed to do behind the scenes to just say, anyone that's in a majority minority community, there's an uplift that needs to be provided to provide equity in the approval rate, period. What are the analytics that we need to look at in order to do that? We analyze all those different things. And today, that approval rate is the same in Black, Hispanic, Latino communities as it is in majority communities. That was number one, right? We also understood more broadly that we needed to change the amount of information that someone needed to provide us to approve a loan. So today, for 75% of our applications under $250,000, right? So imagine we've got 3.5 million clients, right? So for 75% of them that are asking us for $250,000 or less, we do not require any documentation, no financial statements.
I think everybody got quiet on that. So you might want to have to re-emphasize.
I'm gonna repeat it again. I know.
I think everybody want to know what that 25% is.
That's why I paused.
I think
right, so let's
everybody
just make sure
everybody
it's clear,
stop
right?
breathing.
Like when I tell you guys, like this is what I'm trying to make sure everybody hears. I'm dead serious. We have been listening. And you got to understand, in order for JPMorgan Chase to make an adjustment like that, it is a Herculean effort, okay? But for 75% of our customers that apply for $250,000 or less, we require no financial statements, no documentation. The threshold's actually 500,000. It's not 250, but the reason I use 250 is the number of businesses, when you get from 250 to 500, it just changes. Like the amount of documentation we need just changes at that level. So the number comes down to like 40, 50% at that point. But we still will look at and make credit decisions without documentation. So, okay, so we've built a strategy, raised the approval rate in majority minority communities. We've also evolved the process so we don't require the documentation we historically have. And then the last piece that I'm working on now, we have built a model that we're piloting, and this is no secret, I can share this, contract finance for, we're at federal contracts today, right? So we focused on federal contracts specifically in the DMV area as a pilot. the goal is to expand that pilot to obviously a national platform for federal contracts, but then also to look at state, local, and large corporate contract opportunity, and what does supply chain and finance look like for diverse-led businesses in those supply chain opportunities. So my first call that I joined for the PIN community, Rodney had a gentleman on that was talking about getting contracts with Microsoft, right? Yeah. So like my goal is, if you get that contract with Microsoft, we'll finance it, right? Simply because of the relationship we have with Microsoft and the information that we know about the likelihood that a customer with a contract with them repays that debt. So I'll pause there, and then we can talk more specifically about the nitty-gritty of what it takes to actually get access to capital. But I just want to make sure I frame that up, and I'll pause for any questions.
So I think one thing, Mikal, and thank you so much, man, because I know you're very transparent. I know you're passionate and everything else, as well as Rob and Lynette. But I know that everybody's got their popcorn ready, and they ready. They ready for you now. They ready for questions, right? So you got to go back. If there's no financial statements and stuff that's going to Chase, what are they going to look for?
Yeah, it's a great question. So if you're an existing customer of the bank, which is the majority of folks that we look at to begin with, we're analyzing all the things that I've been told we should have been looking at from the beginning, right? Mikal, I bank with Chase. Y'all see the money coming in and out of my account. Why can't you make that credit decision without me having to give you anything else? You already see the money, right? That's basically what we're doing. We finally said, you know what? You're right. Like, why can't we look at, and we actually describe it differently, right? So historically, we've said revenue, right? Now we internally describe it as inflows. Right? So that's the money coming into the account, right? And we don't really talk about it as expenses. We describe it as outflows. So the money coming in the account, money going out of the account, money left in the account. Now I understand, based on what's left, what your capacity for repayment is, what your average balance in the account is, right? So if you're telling me you can afford to give me $50,000 a month, right, on a loan payment for a mortgage for $10 million, but your average balance is $5,000, there's something wrong with the math. Like it's just that simple, right? And so like we can be much more honest, direct, and transparent. Now, okay, so here's the caveat to that. Okay, but Mikal, I got a split relationship between Chase and B of A and some other bank, right? And you got to make a credit decision on me, and then I will bring you all my banking relationship after that if you commit to give me this loan. There's the answer, right? Okay, so like there are technology platforms where you can provide that information, like Plaid and other places, right? They use technology like that today to aggregate that banking information. So the money's got to be somewhere, right? So if you can provide that login information and give us the data for that account, and we can analyze that information and figure out what it is you're telling us, and we can use it as a part of the credit decision, right? So that is the evolution of the model that we're building to solve for access to capital. Now, what else are we looking at? Okay, so the other thing is minimum credit scores. Okay, so what would anybody guess is the minimum credit score to get approved for a loan at Chase?
680. One can dream, no?
I saw a 700 in the chat. I got a 680.
Now, don't y'all be bashful.
What if it's much less than that?
Say 600.
That's a good place. What if it's less than that?
I say, watch out for the lightning.
Yeah. Okay.
I know
so
the answer, but I'm trying to let them ask the question.
No. So the reason I asked the question, right, instead of just giving you the number, one of the things that we did was begin to do the analytics to understand the difference between an indication of risk and an indicator of default. So what we realized in that credit band, call it 580 to 620, right, is that default rates in that 580 to 620 range were not significantly greater than those that were 620 to 680, right? Life events happened. Liquidity actually is a greater indicator of default than their individual credit score at an individual moment. The other behaviors that drive their credit score are actually more of a greater indication than the actual score at any given moment. So now we begin to look at the historical analytics and prioritize that over what the actual number is the day I pulled a credit application. Because that's really what your performance is telling me, right? It's one thing to look at a profile and say, okay, you're a 620, so you're an automatic decline. No. We're not gonna automatically decline you. You're a greater risk. So there are other things that we got to consider. Certain things got to fall in line. Revenues, debt service capacity, and all that may be of greater importance, but we're not going to automatically decline you as a result of that. What was the other thing that typically comes up? There are 3 other attributes that I would tell you guys that, like, historically banks look at for financing that are still applicable today. I just want to make sure I set accurate reality to everything I just said. One, and this comes up all the time, and it's hard to explain sometimes because people always debate this thought process with me. Real estate developers are not businesses in the traditional definition that small business is defined as. We see real estate development as investments and not as operating companies. And as a result, that is like completely off the table. Like completely off the table, right? If you're in your first 2 years of business as a startup company, we're still going to lean very heavily on SBA rules and guidelines to support that business. There's no other way around it. Okay, so let me just be completely transparent. We don't have a capacity to take an equity stake in your business while you try to figure out if what you're trying to do actually succeeds, and we can ride the wave with you. Like, that's not what we do, right? If I give you debt, like, you're going to get a bill 30 days from now and you're going to have to start paying me back, right? So unless that's where you are, debt is not the vehicle for you at that moment in your business. And that just means that there needs to be other platforms and solutions to solve for that opportunity. It's not bank lending. And like, that's sometimes just one of those things that people always want to say, but, well, there is no but. Like, the truth of the matter is, we don't have the capacity. We've not built the vehicle to solve for what it is you're asking us to do. And that's why it is what it is, right? Now, I will tell you, I'm spending a lot of time understanding if that is always going to be the answer. And if no, what are the right approaches? Can we look at revenue-based finance? Can we look at other different approaches, equity positions? But you got to understand something, guys. Like, when is the appropriate time for JPMorgan Chase to take a 50% stake in a small business because that's what it actually deserves based on the valuation and amount of money you want? Never, right? So you gotta just be honest. So, like, that's a space that is always going to be difficult for us to play in. Lastly, whatever industry you're in, there is a historical performance for businesses in your industry. And that is just truth. X% of restaurants fail. X% of construction companies fail or don't perform against contract opportunities. Like, those are not reasons we would ever decline you. But there is a heightened risk to those things that we can't ignore without an understanding of the risk that we're asking for you to take on. So what does that require? If you've got experience in that industry, if you've got a previous history of running a successful business, and this is an expansion of the model versus the first time you've ever done it, you want to go to a restaurant, you were an engineer before. Like, those two things don't go together, right? And so, like, you have to use what you can, like, align to be the reality of how you tell the story about the business. Those things are always going to matter. They're always going to matter. Now, this is the problem. This is me speaking. If Robert were giving this presentation, he'd have talked to you about the 3 different types of capital, right? He'd have talked to you about all of the abilities. He'd have explained to you what confluence is. Like, I learned so much from talking to this dude. Like, and so we should have him on at a different time to break down everything I said in a much more nice and inspiring and like Robert's way of explaining all this stuff is just, it's like butter. It's just so savory. Like I just appreciate it all the time. So we should have had him present instead of me, Rob, but I think everybody got the point.
I learned from this brother. Don't let him fool you.
So I saw, and I don't have my glasses on, but I believe that is Ryan had his hand up. Ryan, can I answer your question?
Yes. First off, thank you for what you do. I know you all are very important in making big inroads in this space. My company's a supplier to JPMC, and
awesome.
Yeah, I'm very proud about that relationship, and I've seen up close how serious some of the folks across the business are, intentional they are. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
My question is around for 2 things. One is JPMC an SBA lender? And second, you mentioned a threshold of 250K. That's important and can help a business get off the ground or stay afloat at a smaller scale. But we all know that, we're trying to compete and build diverse businesses of scale, which might need significantly more capital in order to working capital in order to grow. And so my question is, how do you approach those kinds of decisions for significant? How do you know when a business is kind of got the viability to take on a multi-million-dollar working capital loan to expand? What's the kind of level of proof that you're looking for?
Yeah, man, that's such a great question. You asked me a couple of things, so I'm gonna make sure I try to address all of it. First off, glad to hear that you have a relationship with us and are experiencing firsthand that we are serious about what we said we want to do. I know Ted Archer and Jim Flynn and the team are really serious about adding additional diverse businesses to our supply chain. I know we added over 200 companies with contracts in the last 18 months, right? And for us, that was a huge lift from what was a very small number to begin with. So I'm glad to hear that. I actually was having a conversation with Ted today. One of the things that we were talking about was, as we provide these contracts, if we won't give those businesses the money to support their growth that we're paying them to have, right, where will we expect that they should go, right? So we are quickly, Ryan, looking to solve for that. I will tell you, and your question around SBA lenders, we are proud to be one of the highest SBA lenders in the country. That number has been somewhat skewed by our 504 lending, which is more real estate based than it is working capital based, but like we are the #1 lender, SBA lender in the country. Now, why we skew towards 504 is a much longer conversation. But what I will tell you is, like, when we looked at the analytics, which a lot of our decisions are driven by, right? And the reason why I use those 250,000 and 500,000 fresh thresholds, that's what we define as scored lending, which means we use a bunch of data to make credit decisions kind of in an engine for efficiency purposes. Transactions over 500,000 are done by a team of folks that sit in Columbus and in Dallas. And they make credit decisions manually for that audience of applicants. When we looked at the data, the approval rates in majority minority communities, or however else we could kind of strip it back, we didn't find the disparity there. What we actually believe in most cases, to get right to your question, is business owners often don't look to build credit with us as they grow. They bootstrap, they get a huge contract, they come to us to borrow for this huge contract. We decline them because we've got no relationship with them. They've got no credit performance, even at a smaller scale. And then they say, well, you guys won't lend, right? Well, you know, I understand the logic behind that, which is the reason why we're going to go to a contract finance product, right? So when I was talking about federal government contracts, that's where we're starting so that we can build a model that solves for that gap. But more importantly, like, we need folks to get engaged with us and do the little things along the way. And when I say the little things, it's like, you've got a credit card with us and you perform well against the credit card. You've got a $50,000 line of credit and you perform well against the 50,000 or, you know, 250,000 or $500,000 line of credit. So a $2 million line of credit with us typically is a very different product, right? You're on a borrowing base. You've got some sort of assets that we're required to have an audit to validate, right? So the scale of what is required at that level, I want to know that you've done the basics, right? Like you've managed a line of credit. So now, well, I'm asking you to prove your assets. You got it on a borrowing base. You got somebody that's got to report assets from your business to us on a quarterly basis. Like that's a lot to ask of a business that doesn't have that level of experience and exposure or relationship with us. And so that would be my biggest, encouragement would be, look at us earlier. Think about us for a commercial card product. Think about us, because we do commercial card products. A lot of folks don't notice, like, we do commercial card products that are $200,000-$300,000, right? That are covering your monthly recurring expenses for a large or growing business. And so, like, those are the things that are the building blocks. So now when you need that $2-5 million line, we're there for you. Like, that's the problem, is that I want to be there for you because I know you. I don't want to get to know you at that level because there's just so much complexity to what you're asking me to consider. Now, it doesn't mean we don't do it. And I'll give you a personal example. When I was in LA, I met a trucking company. They're about a $20 million company, Black owned. And they were trying to refinance their fleet, buy some additional vehicles, and couldn't find a bank to approve the loan for them. And one of my bankers, Black banker, brings me into this meeting, and I'm sitting in their boardroom downtown LA. I'm like on the whatever floor, some high rise. And I'm sitting in their boardroom with them. And they're looking at me like, yeah, we won't be able to do nothing. Like everybody else has told me no. And then I brought this Black dude in here. And brother, I know you seem really nice, but you can't help, right? And like, we got it done. Because I was able to explain to them, okay, you got no relationship with us. You haven't done some of these fundamental things. So here, it's going to be a process. But if you trust me and stick with me through the process, we'll get you to the end, right? And so I had to walk them through what that meant. But it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. Love the question.
Does anybody else have questions?
Can somebody tell me about their business? What's going on? Who are you guys and what's going on out there?
So let's do this, Mikal. So what we'll do is just kind of go around the horn real quick and let everybody kind of give that 2-minute, 3-minute pitch to you and
love it.
Yeah, let's do that. So Austin, let's start. Go ahead, Austin. Let's start with you.
Hi, my name is Austin Smith. I'm a owner of a safety and communications company called Watchman Security, and we provide safety and communication services for underserved communities. We partner with municipalities and other non-for-profit organizations and CDCs.
So Austin, tell me what safety and communications is. What's safety? Is that security?
Yes, sir. So basically, we actually provide. Back in the day, used to call it community policing.
Okay.
And so we partnered with the sheriff department and other, police agencies to give us, special deputy powers to be able to support, the police department to kind of like be the liaison between the community and police.
Got it.
So that's the part. We have like a 24/7 command center And since we're in the private sector, we have more cameras and more access to resources than the public sector does, and we can move faster. So we kind of position ourselves as a kind of like a fast moving, support system for those agencies. So right now our contracts are with the airport, with the city of Indianapolis, FedEx, and other like bigger logistical companies as well too. On the communication side, we actually are a Black owned internet service provider. So we actually put up antennas up in underserved community. When we experienced COVID and the whole issue with kids getting access to, internet, we decided to do something about it. So we put up antennas in underserved community areas and put air fiber up. And now it's going out through underserved communities.
So,
Hey, so Austin and everybody, so I know Mikal's trying to get, some knowledge of what you guys and ladies, do. So we're gonna shorten it up because I don't want to run out of time.
don't blame Austin, man. I asked him a question.
I know, I'm sorry.
That's my fault. I asked him to repeat. That's my fault.
Okay, no worries. I'll take it. It's my fault. Hey, Earl. Go ahead, Earl.
Hey, first of all, great information and pretty impressive operation. I'm surprised at the level of commitment you guys seem to have.
Thank you, man.
Run IT, OQ Point Technologies is an IT consulting company based in Redmond, focusing primarily on cloud support, predominantly Microsoft, but also Amazon. And then we do some IT staff support as well in a couple of different areas. We primarily focused on private industry, but as of the last year and a half, we're bidding on state level contracts. We were being invited in to be bid partners on a lot of state activity as of late.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Earl.
Pleasure to meet you, man.
Brian.
Yeah, so my name is Brian Levy. I'm the president of Bridgeport Digital. We are a Silicon Valley consulting firm specializing in performance management, strategic management. Currently, we were doing a lot of agile transformations. So producing different IT organizations to agile and also on the business side of it. So, a little plug, Mikal, because I see you guys are doing lots of agile work. We need a minority vendor who's doing that. We are 97% minority company and 80% women in the company. So we love the part.
Yeah, awesome.
All right.
I'll talk a little bit about that as we wrap up.
Okay, Angela.
Sorry about that. I couldn't get my mute button undone.
That's all right.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having us here today and sharing your information. So I'm with Troy Consulting. I'm the CEO and founder of the firm. We are a management consulting and professional services firm. Our key focus is around program and project excellence, data analytics, insights and reporting, and business strategy, process reengineering, and operational efficiency. So one of our primary clients is Microsoft, and we're always proud to say we are Microsoft's Diverse Supplier of the Year this year for our commitment to our commitment to our consultant and our client relationships and our strong the quality of services. So that's our big differentiator. We have a very solid delivery excellence program, which really oversees our all of our engagements to ensure the quality is where our clients need it.
Thank you.
Awesome. That's great.
Tomorrow.
Well, I don't want to follow Diversity Supplier of the Year from Microsoft, but if I have to, I'm Tamara Keller, co-founder of the Sachs Agency. We are all the things minority-owned, women-owned, Black-owned, certified. We are a full-service marketing, advertising, and branding firm headquartered in Los Angeles. We like to say that we are a purpose-driven team that only works for purpose-driven brands. So way before it was cool to work with diverse companies and have, the color represented on your team, we were already being a part of agencies and big brands and making sure that they were being intentional about how they marketed to the communities that represent us and making sure that they marketed to us in a way that felt not just impactful, but also felt relatable and transparent. So
Awesome.
Lamont. I know Lamont. Oh, there you go, Lamont.
Hey, Mikal. Hey, thanks, Rodney. Hi, good afternoon. Great conversation there. Really appreciate this insights. Lamont Hames, founder and CEO of LMH Strategies Incorporated. We are a Washington, D.C. based management consulting firm with a emphasis on supply chain management, strategic sourcing, and we work primarily in three verticals: government, research and development through partnerships with higher education institutions. We provide management strategies to help HBCUs and other minority serving institutions gain R&D contracts. The other area is in the private sector, commercial sector, where we work with large corporations coast to coast from Silicon Valley to Washington, D.C. in analyzing and implementing strategies around strategic sourcing with an emphasis on supplier diversity. And then the third area is higher education, management consulting with various departments inside universities to help them with gaining access to contracts through leveraging principal investigators and other startup entities within those universities that want to go into the commercial sector. So we're really unique niche area in the manner in which we operate. A spin off the company after 15 years working at NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C. and spending about 7 or 8 years in the private sector and strategy and business development. So we're a straightforward integrated professional services firm. We like to partner. We don't believe in reinventing the wheel. We like to get with some of the best solutions out there in order to deliver high quality services.
Thanks a lot. Sandra?
Hi, I'll turn my camera on. Sandra Hunnigan-Pounder. I'm a partner, good city, at Berkeley Gray law firm based in New York City. Lawyers at our firm come from AmLaw 100 law firms or in-house departments of large corporate organizations. We pride ourselves on giving big firm quality services with a small firm touch. We do litigation, corporate, transactional, M&A, finance, including public finance. We have worked on several projects around New York City area in the airports, LaGuardia, Kennedy, Grand Park, some of them. And, we are actually clients JPMorgan is a client of ours. We started a relationship maybe about 3 years ago, and it's been gradually building traction since then. So we're very happy with that relationship, and I'm very pleased to have been invited to this forum, and I'm really enjoying it. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thanks, Sandra. Hey, Kim. Is Kim multitasking as well? Kim? Hey, Kim. We can't hear you. Okay, we can't hear you, Kim. Okay, I'll come back to you. Uncle Roy.
Hello, Uncle Roy. I have known Rodney and Penn for a couple of decades now, I think. I don't know. Yeah. I immediately fell in love with Rodney's vision and what Penn is looking to accomplish. I love everything I've heard this evening. Chase can take care of your debt needs, and I work on the equity side. So those of you that are needing to raise capital, that's where I fit. I think we have a unique model. Not only do we show you that pre-seed and seed and round A and round B and venture capital are anachronistic and inefficient and do not leave you typically in control of your own company and your own the fruit of your labor, and we don't do that. Separate from that, I think we're very good at finding strategic alliance. I'll give one example. We have one company that plays in the space of getting the last mile delivery done. Their client is 7-Eleven, and 7-Eleven is becoming a marketplace. They want you to do more than get stuff from 7-Eleven at their marketplace. And so this client, there are 15,000 7-Elevens. We have another client that has point of sale strategies and merchant services and technology around that space. These are complementary technologies. their principal client is Circle K. We all should talk to each other. we should have your technology introduced to 7-Eleven and take their technology and introduce it to Circle K. So we pride ourselves on doing more than finding the equity you need. We're also going to help you in strategic alliances. One of our key advisors is former congressman, served 10 years on the House Transportation Committee. Part of his congressional district was NASA. So we have interesting projects that we work on. And if you're looking for equity, talk to Rodney or my nephew, Rodney.
I am Matthew Rodney, everybody.
We do get a few raised eyebrows when we walk in a room and he introduces me as his Uncle Roy.
He's white, but he's hungry.
and then they see me on the basketball court and they know we're not related. So yeah, my best jump shots are on backgammon. That's about it. So anyway.
That's awesome.
Take care. Pleasure to be here. And I love the work that you're doing at Chase. That is just awesome.
Thank you, Uncle Roy.
See, you got another nephew, Uncle Roy. All right, Ms. Barnes.
Oh, me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was listening like in awe. No,
okay.
No.
Okay.
I'm owner of Barnes Concepts. We run a drone service business. Just started here last year. Done a few jobs for some real estate, commercial and residential. Looking to broaden that scope and do some work with the energy sector and possibly do some mapping and surveying projects with construction.
Awesome. Okay. I think I remember you were on the first call I joined.
Yeah.
Just listening in because I remember hearing you talk to Microsoft about your drone business. That's great. That's great.
Yes, I'm still waiting on that call.
Oh, I didn't mean to bring up no problems.
No. He's been traveling, so he's getting back to everybody. Yeah. So he's really been traveling a lot because his kids were away. So he's been traveling with his wife.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you, man.
You as well. You as well. Matter of fact, I noticed that golf logo on your shirt. I'm actually about to do some video for a property manager where they have a golf course around the residents.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, just adding it, doing the videos, accent, sale, it improves sales for at least the one commercial property we did because the buyer made sure they let them know that if they hadn't seen the vicinity of the golf course, the shopping and eating, they didn't, that, long story short, that move that property brought to the top of the list for them.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see why that was.
Thank you, Mr. B. Hey, Ms. Johnson.
Hello, can you all hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry for the noise and my appearance. Tuesdays are sports day. So I coach middle school basketball at Chicago Public Schools and my son plays water polo. So thank you for your time today. My name is Ariel Johnson. I'm the founder of Staffing Services. We are a hospitality and events production staffing agency that runs as a social enterprise. And so what that means is we staff with a purpose, keeping workforce development as well as paying a livable wage in every community that we go to at the forefront. So some examples of work that we've done include Major Locker, which is really where we launch in all of the public facing events, such as providing quality hospitality for the team owners and suites, or supporting with the 2 Chainz concert during the block party, and providing staff and recruiting staff in that local community in Atlanta. We did the same thing in Orlando, Chicago, you name it. We recently provided 65 staff over Afrotech this past November, as well as QCon, which is the total opposite of Afrotech. We know Afrotech is, we did the total opposite as well. But again, we recruited all of those teams locally from the community, ensuring that individuals that may not have access to quality education are able to get into an industry where you really don't need much, but a spirit of service, a quality attitude, and willing to work hard. And so that's what we've been doing. We are currently now in the process of working on our strategy to be able to expand to bring quality service to tech and IT staffing, as well as working on contracts such as the Board of Elections contracts here in the state of Illinois. And so y'all will definitely be hearing from us as we work to scale that and our business development team. But thank you so much again for having us.
Thank you, Ms. J. Hey,
Awesome.
Jean. How you doing, Jean? Can't hear you.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm sorry I just jumped on. Are we introducing ourselves?
Yep. Yes,
Okay.
we are.
All right. Well, let me zip up here. In my office, just finishing up some online training for my mortgage CE. But I am Jean Poole, and I'm the founder of EQ Performance, a leadership training company that works with individuals for career management and engagement, with teams to help them be high-performing teams, because high-performing teams lead to great company employees, and great companies produce great products, and that's how you stay in business. And I also coach small and new businesses, and I'm located in the Metro Indianapolis area.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Jean.
Nice
Hey,
to meet you all.
Denise.
Hello, I'm Denise Hurd, and I'm the founder of Hurd Strategies. And we are a full service branding, marketing, and public relations firm located here in Indianapolis. And we are certified as a minority and women business enterprise with the city of Indianapolis, the state of Indiana, and also a DBE, a disadvantaged business enterprise with the Indiana Department of Transportation. And we specialize in quality of life matters. So our goal is to make sure that those that are underrepresented or may not have a voice are listened to by organizations that want to implement programs and initiatives, you know, in their current area, and also making sure that those organizations that are trying to bring their program or initiative to a certain target have their voices heard as well. So we like to look at ourselves as like communication brokers or liaisons. And we also do a lot of crisis communication as well. So that's why you won't see me working in like sports marketing or entertainment, even though I like those things. I really like matters that focus on quality of life, like affordable housing, transportation, education. Those are the areas that we really try and lend our skills in. So thanks so much for this information.
Awesome. So Rod, can we pivot just a bit?
Sure.
I know we're 5 minutes to the bottom of the hour.
Yeah.
And I just want to be respectful of everybody's time. I am more than happy to stay on to connect with anyone that didn't get the chance to introduce themselves or their business. But for those that need to wrap, I want to make sure that I share a couple of things before people, if they have to drop at the bottom of the hour. So I just want to take 2 minutes and then we can go back to finishing that up. One is I want to make sure I introduce and explain what Robert and Lynette do here at the firm, right? So I've talked a good talk about like the fact that we're building some systems and processes and strategies behind the scene to solve for some of these issues. We have also built 2 very important teams of humans that have a sole job and responsibility. This isn't like what they do in their free time or on the weekends or when they get off of work. This is what they do full time. So Robert runs a team of senior business consultants. The senior business consultants provide one-on-one coaching and support to diverse-led companies. In that effort, we spend on average about 6 months with that business. They complete a SWOT analysis of the company. We help them to understand the opportunities and threats of the business and help them to create key KPIs that they want to execute against to solve for the needs of their company. And we help them to measure against those activities for that 6-month period. To date, last year, we mentored about 4,000 businesses, in 2022. Our goal is to get to 5,000 businesses in 2023. So we're in 21 cities across the country. There were some folks that mentioned Indianapolis. We're not there yet, but like it is on the list of our potential expansion cities as we look to expand going into the second half of 23. Now, Lynette Jackson is a community manager. And what a community manager does is engage in all aspects of banking and financial services and support in our local communities And what that means is they engage with small business owners. They engage with homeowners or aspiring homeowners. They talk to people about budgeting and financial planning and financial health. They're certified financial health coaches that provide that individual education and support in our communities to really be the difference maker in solving for the narrative of inequity that we've talked about for so long. The reality is the way that you change that inequity is through being a homeowner, owning a business that is beyond replacement of income, but has scale and capacity, right? There is a difference. And so it's important to make sure that we elevate that focus and the support that we provide. And so they are here to be a resource to you all. They're here to be a resource in our communities. I could not be prouder of the work that they do. And I'm going to steal a statistic that I heard somewhere. The community manager team, right? If I get this right, like this number is astronomical to me, but like they have coached over 200,000 humans last year alone, right? Imagine engaging and speaking in our communities, Black, Hispanic, Latino communities with over 200,000 folks, just helping them to understand everything I just described around the work that they're doing. It is a game changer for us as an organization. And that's only 2 of the 3 teams that we've built. This intention goes into our mortgage business. It goes into our middle market business. It goes into our wealth business. There's a program in our wealth business called the Black Wealth Initiative. So like we are doing this across the firm very intentionally, right? And so I just want to make sure that I explain that, Rob, because if everybody thinks it's just me and I sit in a room and if Mikal's gone, maybe this stuff doesn't continue. No, we are tying this and weaving this into the DNA of who we are as an organization so it can't be undone. And they were stupid enough to let us do it. And now that we're here, we ain't going nowhere, right? And we're extremely high performing folks that came from very high performing jobs. And all of us were successful in whatever we did before. And so like, this has been a great opportunity for me to partner with them in this journey. And it's been an awesome privilege to do that work. So I just want to make sure to share that. Now, let's go back to make sure we meet the rest of the folks. And then I do want to come back and say something about the industries and some of the narratives around capital based on what type of business you're in. If you notice, I've been taking notes of industries and I want to speak kind of specifically to some of that as we wrap.
So, Mikal, so I also, too, like to forward the opportunity for Robert and Lynette at least say something here too. If everybody's okay with the time, I know it's precious, we're not gonna get it back, but this is important. But Rob, I want you to be able to say something too, because without Robert, it wouldn't be no Rodney to even get to Mikal. Without the Lynette, I wouldn't even get to Robert and Mikal. So these are important people that have been in my life, very instrumental in my life and giving me the pathway and the fortitude to be able to build something like this so we can all get educated and help each other, right? So Robert, I want to give you a chance to say something, sir.
Man, certainly appreciate it, Rod. At the end of the day, I think Mikal did a phenomenal job just summarizing the input and the value of what we bring to each individual. I will tell you this. Now, the one thing that Mikal didn't mention, and I want to emphasize, is it's free. Like free 99 to have a consultant work with you for 3 to 6 months, providing that you're at least 2 years old and generating a minimum of 100,000 in revenue. And you want to be coached criteria. And it's important that you meet those criteria because, again, statistically, we have the ability to provide you with the intellectual capital that you're going to need to not only understand your business, but gain an appreciation for your industry. And that's where scalability begins, whether it's vertical or horizontal. So certainly a pleasure meeting those of you that we've heard from already. Looking forward to hearing from those that we haven't. And just know we have consultants placed strategically around the country. We'd be happy to look at your business as a potential client in the very, very near future.
Thanks, Rob.
Sure.
Lynette?
Yes, absolutely. I have to echo what Robert said about Mikal. I mean, the introduction that you gave about us and what we do was like spot on, but I have to add a little bit more to it. So my role, we consider myself as the quarterback or the boots on the ground, but instead of saying boots on the ground, I say stilettos in the streets. So that's what I am, stilettos in the streets. So you'll never forget that. But no, I totally have a passion for what I do, giving back to the community. And I love partnering with Robert and Mikal and all the other partners on our team to make it happen, because we know that when small businesses do well, we all do well. So it's a pleasure being in this role. I'm happy to be a forerunner in this division, and I'm looking for some great things to come out of it. And it's a pleasure meeting all of you. And Rodney, you know, we go way back. So,
Yeah,
my heart's always with you. But anyway, I'm going to flip it back to you, Mikal, so you can finish up. But it's definitely a pleasure.
And I just want to say, this ain't the only 3 Black people around this place.
Right.
We didn't like. Never mind. I'll be quiet.
It's more of us. It's more of us. We promise.
I just remember we recording. I got to stop. Don't get me acting up. Don't get me acting up.
All right, man. Hey, look. So we stopped. Darlene. Is Darlene still here? Okay, I think Darlene dropped. All right, so I got DMS, transportation.
Yes, my name is Tyrese Space. I'm the owner of DMS Transport and Logistics. We're a freight moving company. Also, I have an accredited school for freight brokers and freight dispatchers. Then recently, I got my certification to open up a Class A and Class B school.
Okay. Thank you there, Tyrese. Now, is that 2 Brians, or that Brian had another picture down here? That's another Brian, right? This is Brian.
Oh, no, I'm logged in twice. I enjoyed it so much. It's so nice to do it.
Okay, got you. All right, Mr. Jolly, Deron.
Yes, sir. Do you hear me?
Got you.
All right, bear with me. I'm outside of my daughter's martial arts. So,
okay.
But Darren Jolly, president of Incon LLC, we're a marketing and media firm here in the Dallas, Fort Worth area. We focus on anything from marketing audits to marketing research, all the way to build the marketing strategy for small to low mid-market size companies. And then we also execute on branding, website development, digital marketing, as well as a little bit of media buying. One of the things that kind of sets us apart is we have a proprietary marketing intelligence platform where we can evaluate marketing programs to figure out where they're vulnerable, where they're weak, and figure out how to move them forward from there. So Incon LLC Marketing Media, Darren Jolly.
Pleasure to meet you.
Derek.
Yes, hello, Derek Knox, founder and CEO of Diverse IT. We do a good majority of things in IT. I have some data centers where we offer some co-location services. We do some data management on top of that. Our sweet spot is cybersecurity, where we do everything from IEM to endpoint protection, network edge protection from edge to edge. As I said, some storage pieces. We have a security operations center, a SOAR, where we do a lot of automation, and we do some DevSecOps. So everything from managed IT services are the things that we provide. Along with that, we also do some staff augmentation when it comes to IT professionals.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks, D.
Thank you.
We got Isaac, which is better known as Iceman. You know, Mr. Mikal. He played ball with us too, Mikal. Ice, how you doing? He's probably on mute. That's cool. All right. So Mikal, again, we're gonna kind of wrap it up because we did pretty good on time, considering a lot of people here. But this is definitely an opportunity for all of you, to pass this on to so many others who can actually, get an opportunity to talk to people like Mikal and Robert and Lynette. It's about, transparency, and companies and people like this driving, this vehicle to get us all educated where we can do the right thing. I know we got to go back to a few things here, because I'm quite sure in everybody's brain, I know Mikal mentioned, $250,000, and Mikal, you probably can expound on that a little bit more, or the 500,000, with no financial statements. But I know that's got to be like, okay, if no financial statements, what do I really have to have? I know we talked about the credit score and everything else, but there's anything else, that might stick out and hurt some, business who's really trying to get through that door, right?
Yeah, it's a great question, Rodney. And so it actually allows me to kind of dig into what my realization was as everyone talked about their business and their entity. Okay. The most important thing that I gathered when you think about lending, and I'm sure you've all have heard this before, right? There is the credit decision that is based on debt capacity, your ability to repay. Then the second consideration historically of that decision is collateral, which are the assets that you have to as your secondary source of repayment, which is how we define it in the banking world, right? And so historically, and this goes back to your question, right? Historically, in order to, for a marketing company to get a loan from a bank, right, it is a evaluation of the business owner, the business debt capacity, and then collateral for repayment. Well, there are a couple of things that I would tell you guys that are important for you to know and understand about your business, regardless of what bank you go to. You want to have an understanding of what your need for the capital is, because there are very different solutions based on the use of capital. So if I'm, and here's, I think this is almost a blanket statement, except for maybe the transportation logistics company, but then you said you did training. So I think it's true there. Staffing, drone services, most of you guys are all paid on some sort of an invoice, right? If I'm reading this correctly and looking at all the different things that are here, consulting services, IT services, security, most of you are paid on some sort of an invoice. Yeah. And so what you should always have in your hip pocket is an understanding of what your cash flow challenge is. Meaning, in a 30-day period of time of your invoices, what are you typically paid and what are you typically not being paid in 30 days? That's an extremely critical data point. Because everybody comes into a bank and says, I need a line of credit. It's like, well, what for? Well, I get slow pay from, this, that, or the third. Well, okay, how much? Well, how much can I qualify for? No, that is not the answer to the question, right? That is not the answer to the question. The answer to the question is, well, Mikal, on average, I get paid X% of my invoices in 30 days. And then X% of my invoices, it takes somewhere between 60 and 90 days for me to be repaid. Now I understand what your need is, right? Now you understand what your need is. And so as you can explain that to someone, then they can talk to you about how they help you to solve for that issue. And there are 3 things that solve that issue. Just be very clear. The first is, we're going to talk to you about how you accept payments. And is there a way to expedite and make that process more efficient? The second is, based on the dollar amount you need and the challenges you're experiencing, we may just tell you, hey, if it's 45 days, you could probably get away with a credit card if you can qualify for $50,000 and your slow pays are only 20. Now, you could also tell me, hey, Mikal, I got my slow pays at $2 million. My 60 to 90 day period is $2 million. Great. That means you've got an accounts receivable aging report somewhere that you can use to represent that collateral. And then I'm fine with advancing off that collateral, right? So you got to understand and know, based on the industry you're all in, this is something you should know at all times for any bank that you talk to. Now, here at Chase, with what we're doing, going back to my 250,000 or 500,000, I may not even ask you for that AR aging if you're asking me for $100,000, $200,000. I probably won't. Like, it's not even worth, what we're trying to create is efficiency in the process. And if I could look at your bank statement and see that you've got that type of money coming in, right, then I can understand that that's the type of money you should have for your business. So my point in saying that, though, is forget our process, because all of you don't bank with us. I'm not asking you all to come bank with us. This is not a sales pitch for Chase. what I'm trying to make sure you guys understand is, like, I don't see an exception here of a business that would have hard assets, you know, equipment, like, I mean, maybe a drone services, like even IT equipment, it goes stale so fast, right? Unless you got, you know, big towers, right? That's holding, you know, data information. Otherwise, like computers and that kind of stuff and software information are all soft costs. They're all soft assets, I should say. And they just don't have the sustainable value as an asset to represent collateral. So you just have to know and understand when you walk into the bank what you're asking for. So I would encourage you all to go back, historically understand, what does my 30, 60, 90-day repayment look like? Where's my gap? What is my challenge? And then here's the thing I would tell you guys, right? If you're a business that's over $1 million in revenue and you have employees, you guys should probably have some sort of a card program, whether it be a commercial card or credit card program, because you're gonna have an expense that is on a 30-day payment requirement. You shouldn't be taking that out of your checking account or off a debit card. That should be on a credit card. You pay it off. You give the cards to your employees. You can empower them to make decisions. You can give them limits and control. You can tell them that I give you this credit card to manage invoices or whatever it is, to go buy toilet paper at Costco. You can actually shrink their use and access to that card down to the code that says they spent it at Costco, and completely restrict and limit and give them the authority and create efficiency, right? Yeah. But then you have total control. Now what you actually need as usable capital day-to-day changes and how you manage payroll. Now you got more cash in the bank to manage payroll because you got other cards and other services that aren't lines of credit. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have a line of credit, but fundamentally, that's almost the last solution once you've solved for all the other operational issues that are happening in your business day to day. And most times we don't talk about operational inefficiency. We go right to, I need a line of credit for my business. I cannot tell you all the things that Rodney wants me to tell you about all the different things that build our algorithm that makes our credit decisions. I just can't. It's a huge fraud risk for us. It is the thing that would position us to be taken advantage of. As soon as you kind of give the math, people can represent the math without actually being of a quality organization, and that's huge fraud risk for us. We got 3.5 billion clients. Like, that's just not, or million, I'm sorry, I said billion, 3.5 billion clients. It looks like Ariel has a question.
And I'm sorry if this isn't an appropriate time to stop and ask. I know you're over time.
All good.
I'm moving around, so forgive me if I missed it. But so you talked about the cash flow and understanding our cash flow, which makes a total sense. We don't necessarily have a cash flow issue. Our overhead is low in staffing, but we are looking for financing in order to expand our services and invest in business development and Salesforce and things of that nature. So what would be your recommendation in terms of finding some capital solutions to be able to achieve those goals?
An SBA loan, straight up. And everybody gets confused about why SBA loans are appropriate. Like, just understand what an SBA loan is designed to do is cover the narrative. Anytime you walk into a bank and you have a narrative that you need to explain because it's not in the information that I can get out of your financial statement. Like, anytime that's the truth, an SBA loan is probably going to be the best solution for you. And most people are like, well, I don't want SBA loans. They're expensive. They're complicated. They're this, they're that. Like, some of that's probably true, right? But like, let's do the math on what an SBA loan will cost you versus the value in what the capital will do for your business over a period in time. All right, that's one. And now the federal government is waiving SBA fees. So even the fees that would historically be associated with the debt, don't even exist today, right? And so if Ariel, going back to your specific example, and I've helped a ton of customers with this, like what you need in that situation, that is the trick to it, is to be able to say, you know, this investment is going to cost me X, but the value to my business and the future growth of my business is Y, right? And so now I understand that this debt is leverage for the future growth of the business. And so that's the reason why I need the capital. Like you have to know that. You have to clearly understand that. And guys, like this isn't a lending thing, right? You shouldn't want to go down the path to do what Ariel just described unless you could actually, on some level, explain the value to the business, not the personal narrative of this is what I want to accomplish, but the actual numerical value to the business that validates the reason for the additional capital and the additional risk. And that's homework. That's the hard work, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you got to understand there are CPAs that are great at advising you and helping you to put numerical value to those costs and things. That's time you need to spend with your CPAs. While we're not looking at financial statements for a lot of things, what I believe most of us do when we talk to our CPA is talk about avoiding tax responsibility and not actually talk to them about the strategic value and execution of the business and how you want the data for the business to represent that. And understand that that could be done in financial statements and you could still take advantage of tax at the time that taxes are done. But the financial statements at least inform you of the performance of the business, assets, liabilities, profit and loss statements, separate from what a tax return shows, because tax returns really are about how do I hide money? Like, that's not a negative thing. That's reality, right? That's truth. And that's the reason why you have to separate your understanding of your business from your taxes. So even in the time when you have to explain to someone why what my taxes say isn't really what's going on in my business, well, that's a great statement. But if you can't tell me, well, Mikal, it's because, you know, we took a ton of depreciation, we bought some assets, you know, we took advanced depreciation on the assets. Hey, I took some money out of the business to invest with a partner on this other initiative. And so I took some money out, right? Like all those things you can explain. If you can just walk me through what's happening and why, I took money out to do something else, is a one-time expense. I add it back. If you took advanced depreciation over assets that you bought for the business, I add it back. If you tell me, hey, Mikal, I took out this loan, you know, we expanded and did some real estate stuff. So now I got a real estate holding company. I got some assets sitting over here. Well, bring me the LLC documentation and let's bring the whole picture together, right? Like those are the things that are like, that's what you need to know about your business. I don't know unless you tell me. I don't even know to ask those questions in most cases.
No, that's on point. Listen, I know for time, Mikal, I mean, we love it. I know everybody here, and for the ones who actually left, they love this, and this is very important for a lot of us to, you know, really understand and get the real truth from people like Mikal, you know, Robert, Lynette, and others, because this is where we can make a change. You know, all of us can make a change in our businesses and the people we hire, the people we talk to, the people we educate, everything else. But you know, it doesn't get better than this right here. It just doesn't. So, you know, again, Mikal, man, I thank you, bro, from my heart. Thank you so much for being here today. Robert and Lynette, thank you all so much. All of my family here in the PN community, thank all of you. But it's time for us to do right too. You know, we can't make Mikal and his team do right if we're not doing right. So we got to get it right also. So Mikal, I don't know if you have any words or encouragement you want to leave with everybody, but again, we thank you so much, man, for, you know, lending us your time and your expertise, as well as Robin and Lynette.
So my final thought, Rodney, first off, thank you for the opportunity. And thank everyone for their patience with me as I, you know, sometimes I'm pretty straightforward and direct. I hope everybody knows is met with the greatest amount of love and desire to see us all win. And I think that, you know, the mistake we make sometimes is like the game of basketball, there's a set of rules that the game has to be played by.
Right.
Like the game of basketball, it's also extremely competitive. And the thing that I think sometimes folks aren't considering is winning means that you have to learn the game and get good at it.
Yeah.
And I want to be the place where I can ensure that we provide transparency to ensure that people know the rules of the game. And so this conversation, any conversation going forward, any platform that me and the team could be present and speak on, I'm telling you, Robert is way better at this than I am. So anytime you can get Robert to speak in a room, y'all would love it. But like the truth of the matter is, like, man, my heart goes out to you all because running your own business day to day is tough as hell.
Yeah.
And the last thing that your bank should be doing is ignoring your contribution.
Absolutely.
And so we've done it for too long. And I'm excited to say we're changing it. But we got a long way to go. And to Ronnie's point, the closer we can meet in the middle, the sooner we both get to where we both want to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, again, thank all of you for joining the PEN Community Night. You know, we come every Tuesday at 6 p.m. with the guest speaker. We will have Mr. Robert Hines speaking at some point here. We'll also get Miss Lynette Jackson and anybody from the Chase team that Mikal or Robert or Lynette says, that's who's going to be speaking, right? But again, you know, pass it on to our peers. We all got to get this right. That's the only reason we built this system, because we want to educate people on the know-how. And like Mikal said, you got to learn how to play the game. And you can't learn how to play the game if you're just trying to do it by yourself. That's why they're here. So again, I want everybody to have a great night, a continued great week, and have a great weekend. And then we'll all come back here pretty soon. So thank you again, Mikal. Thank you so much, man.
You're welcome. And I put my email address and some information in the chat. So anybody feel free to reach out. Happy to stay connected.
All right. Good night,
Take
everybody.
care.
Okay.
Bye, Mike.
Nice meeting you all.
Okay, Jane.